Hello. Uh, I wanted to give you some examples of good jobs for the mind. How I use my mind without letting it take control. Without letting it let it believe for one moment that it's controlling what I do. But it is useful. We're given these fine instruments for a reason, I believe. And observation, it helps me to witness, it helps me to observe. And the trick was learning how to remove any hint of judgment, pure observation of the world in which I find myself. Yesterday, on my almost daily bike ride, I noticed that many cars were parked at a nice little beach park that seldom has too many visitors and seldom has so many cars. So this is a place that they will have events, gatherings. And I never know what gatherings are which because everything is always, all the advertisement is in Chinese. No one's really considered that maybe someone who can't read Chinese might be interested. Anyway, community event. And I noticed that everyone had gathered for a walk, a family walk, down along the beautiful bike path, along the coast, family, all sizes of children, and I'm all in favor of community events, especially something as helpful as walking. Very healthy family outing. What's not to like? What's not to appreciate? Where my observation came in was that it seemed, not without irony, that so many people drove their car, fought for parking because it's limited, to go for a walk. I thought, how much more healthier to walk to the walk. But probably not many thought of that. We're so used to, so spoiled with our vehicles. And one of the beauties of living in a smaller community is that parking generally isn't much of a problem. So this is one, just musing. How about walking to a walk? The next thing is that I read the Taipei Times, the Taiwanese English paper. I read it online every morning. And I like to keep up with as much events, even though a superficial glance at most of them will suffice. But being in Taiwan, I must admit to a particular interest in seeing what Big Brother China is up to, and it's been in the news about Xi becoming president for life, and everything that happens, or most things that happen certainly national events have some effect on us here in Taiwan. Big Brother, China, seems to feel that Taiwan represents unfinished business that will have to be resolved, and in their parlance, resolved means for Taiwan to become part of mainland China. So I watched this because it will have some repercussions. So I watched this unfold and keep pretty well informed, up to date about what's going on. And sometimes I read the letters to the editor because they can have some interesting opportunities for observation, something to put in my mind to work with. Well, they read a letter from I would guess a gentleman, a man from Taichung, a Chinese man, and I call him Chinese in the sense that he would probably call himself Chinese based on the tone of his letters. And his letter was complaining about foreigners. Complaining about foreigners not following the rules of the society. And he lumped all of us together. He lumped laborers, the caretakers, Indonesian, Malaysian, Philippine, some Vietnamese, basically blue-collar workers. He mixed that all together with English teachers, foreign English teachers, which in his mind seemed to be about all that a foreigner would, a Western foreigner, an American or a Brit, a native speaker of English would be qualified to teach, to have a job. In his mind, this seemed to be. But anyway, it was the lumping it all together. And there were several points that really stuck to me without judging this individual. The first thing was that the people they import for to do jobs they don't want to do, caretaking, backbreaking labor, they're taking advantage of countries who suffer from poverty and who are eager to make a dollar looking for work to survive. They capitalize on this. The agents charge unbelievably high rates to bring the workers here. The workers pay, in fact, most of them after 2 years of hard work, they're hard pressed to have any savings. It takes 2 years to pay for the brokers, to pay for the people that bring them here to work. So the criticism of them was that they would go to the train station and celebrate and take over the train station and celebrate and gather for their cultural events and just companionship. Being an alien, being a foreigner here, I know how lonely it can get. So they criticize these people, say, oh, they take over the train station. Well, the first thing that seemed pertinent to mention here is that train station seems like an obvious place because they're spread out everywhere. And they come together in the train station. And my experience at the train station has been in very, usually smaller groups, but very well behaved. And who's the begrudge? They're overworked, they're exploited. And why would you begrudge them their one day a week off if they're lucky? Chance to get together speak their own language, get together and celebrate their culture and talk to friends, to socialize, because they're all social people, just as the people who live here are social people. So I thought, well, let's cut them a break. Come on. Provide an alternative place. If you don't like them at the train station, provide an alternative place where they could gather and meet that's centrally located. It's easy for them to access with the limited time and limited funds available to them. And then the next thing he went on, ranting and raving a little bit about the English teacher setting the bad example for the children by pubbing, I guess, by going out on their weekends and enjoying themselves. Drinking in public, he said. Well, I don't know who he was talking about. I see very little drinking in public unless it's the local people. Who gets drunk? Drunk driving here is a huge problem. And 99% of the drunk drivers are local people. I don't know whether to call them, some are Taiwanese and some would prefer to be called Chinese. I don't want to get in that. That's not for me to wrestle with. That's up to their own sense of identity. But the first thing that popped in my mind is if you go to any pub, Taipei has the most foreigners, Taichung is next, Kaohsiung. If you went to any of these places and went to any of the pubs, the clubs, the nightclubs, you will see 95% are, again, Taiwanese young people. And good for them. Part of being young is to celebrate being young. Go out and party. When you get older, you don't do much partying. You don't really have the energy to party. So party while you're young. Why not? But again, to criticize the selective audience, to criticize an easy target. Foreigners stick out. They're easy for people to see. Now I'd like to add something here as a foreigner. Because I'm high visibility, I always felt the extra responsibility to be on my best behavior. Because eyes are watching, like it or not. But I can't hold everyone to my standards. Self-imposed standards, by the way. And I'm far from being young. Always perpetually young at heart, but that's another story. So, the criticism I see is a little bit skewed. A handful of foreigners doing this compared to... So if we're going to have these standards, let's hold everybody accountable to the same standards. Which means some kind of agreement about standards. Good luck with that. The next thing he went on to say is that he was quite angry with people who didn't speak Mandarin. He said that you're obligated to speak Mandarin. If you don't speak Mandarin, that it shows disrespect for the people who live here. Whose place he seems to think it belongs to them. All of us are outsiders. Well, two things came to mind at that. Being from Hawaii, we appreciate that, most of us appreciate, they've been there long enough, that the indigenous people, the people who were there, it's their place. Hawaii belongs to the Hawaiians, the Renjumin in Taiwan. They're the true inhabitants of Taiwan. All of the rest of us, including the Han and the Hakka and everybody else, are newcomers, outsiders, aliens. So why does this man feel that Taiwan belongs to the Mandarin-speaking people? Just problematic for me. And the other part was more universal. In my experience, we're all visitors to this earth. Short-time visitors. We come and go in the blink of an eye. So that concept of someplace belonging to me or to anyone else is pretty. How can you own some land, own a mountain, own the beach? How can you own it? The earth owns us. As I see it, we're short-time visitors. And most indigenous Native Americans, the Hawaiians, the Maoris in New Zealand, the local Ami and the other tribal peoples understand that how it's ridiculous, the concept of ownership, but much less owning a country. Just food for thought. Which leads me to my intended topic catch-all for today was safe harbors. Creating a safe place. I've mentioned before that cloistering, separating yourself from everybody, living in a cave, living in a temple, which is kind of, temple is an allegorical. Living in a temple is not intended to be much different than living in a cave. You want to cloister, you want to be separate from the rumblings of people, the great unwashed. Somehow you want to. But the idea of a safe harbor, I'm a nautical kind of guy, so I love that the harbor, finding the safety of a harbor from a storm, lends itself to the allegorical description, sense of creating your own safe harbor. I call mine, I'm in mine now, and I call it room with a view because I'm on the 11th floor and I can look out my window and see what's going on. But the sense of being in a safe place, this is my meditation room, this is my YouTube room now, my production room, basically my meditation room. But it's my safe haven, my safe place. I'm safe in here. Got the door closed. The world's out there. But I can still see what's going on because I believe that personally the need to be and function in society is still a must do. I would suggest in the discipline, in learning to meditate, the most important thing is, you've probably heard, is, but bears remembering, bears me reminding you, is consistency. Meditation should be daily activity. Put it on your list, your to-do list. And my experience has been, supports most of the common view that links intensity, discipline in meditation. All these things are secondary to consistency. And start with a realistic goal. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 15. When you've practiced for a while, an hour is a really good. I find it to be a really good period of time. Anything over 2 hours. 2 hours really works for me. But anything more than 2 hours without a break, without some food, without some green tea, I love my green tea, without some food, a break, stretch, get up, go into the room, engage. If you've got somebody nearby, engage with them. Go back to the whatever is normal for you. And come back and sit again if you feel like a real burning desire that you didn't meditate enough. Come back and sit again for an hour or 2 hours. Rather than sit continuously. I don't really believe it's about torturing your body. But there has been a handful of times when I've meditated for 1 or 2 days, but it was usually associated with a breakthrough. It was not an intentional move on my part. It started off as a normal meditation, but it morphed into something bigger. And momentous things happen. So I associate my long meditations with momentous events in my life, on my spiritual path. In your safe harbor, this is where I do in addition to meditation, I do my contemplation. As I shared to begin this session, observations. And every time I observe something, it gives me an opportunity to make sure that it doesn't hint at judgment. It's based on something other than judgment. And it's never intended to divide or separate. The two biggest red flags when you're having this kind of behavior, anything or anyone that leads to separation, division, entitlement. Probably it was the letter I was talking about from the Chinese man criticizing foreigners. It was probably his sense of underlying entitlement. This is our place. We belong here. You're the outsider. You're blah blah blah. So you have to follow our rules because this is our country. Yeah. Pretty much reeks of entitlement to me, and that's as judgment-free as I can make it at this point in my existence. It's hard to suffer fools. It really is. But this kind of place, safe place, I've chosen to share these things, but you're certainly under no obligation. For many, many years I sat with these things and learned to bide my own counsel, not to share too much of my, not only insights, but witnesses, observation. I'm a good watcher. I watch carefully. That includes myself. But take the time for your meditation practice. Have a favorite corner, closet, room if you're so lucky. Dedicated to your meditation practice. I like to burn incense. Not everybody likes incense. I've got incense going while I'm doing my talks with you, because it's a beautiful smell. That it's an incense that I'm familiar with from many years ago, and it helps to create this atmosphere that in my safe harbor, my safe haven. Candles. I like candlelight. Doesn't work. I got a bright light over here. I got the overheads over because I'm trying to make a better presentation on my videos. I want to make it easier to watch. So I'm suggesting that Safe Harbor is more than a simple meditation room, as important as that may be, but a place of refuse. Safe in Hawaiian culture, they had designated villages which were refuge. If you could escape any authority or anybody and reach the boundaries of the refuge, you were safe in there. Nobody would violate this tradition of refuge. Nobody. So all you had to do is escape to that, and you were safe as long as you stayed in the confines of the refuge. Beautiful, beautiful concept. And I would venture to guess, because I've seen so many similarities in the indigenous people in the world, that this is not an unheard of concept in indigenous culture. So much we could learn from them. It's incredible. How to be on this planet, how to respect this planet. So in this place of refuge, that you're safe, you feel safe, is important for each of us to have. Now I have my room with a view, which I'm sharing with you. Maybe you can't help but notice I'm wearing my purple beads with one white, my white with one purple, because today I felt somewhat as one amongst the many. And this, maybe you share this with me too. You feel a bit of an outsider. You feel like you don't really fit in the world as we find it. So this for me is that when I'm feeling this way, I put this on because it reminds me that even though I'm the one among the many, we're all connected. We're all together. There is no division. There is no separation. So this goes along with my room and my view, with the view. My safe haven, my safe harbor. I like to collect things that will help me remember. And I suggest that you might consider whatever would help you, whatever your lessons are, whatever you need to be reminded of. I would suggest that you do so. And again, this is a place of honor. I have a beautiful little bag. I'll put these things back on the bag, put it up on my stand where I burn my incense and where my candles are lighted, and keep it in a place of honor. But again, when I feel this way, I take it off, put it on. It's really amazing. It's so cool. The temperature, it's cool. It's just cool. I mean, temperature-wise, it feels refreshing to put these on. And it's not something I would wear all the time. Just times when I need to remind myself of what's so. To remind myself that it's not about separateness and division. It's about inclusion. It's not about seclusion, caves, or even temples. There is a time and a place for temple life, but it's more like a refuge. It's like a hospital. It's a place you go to get better when you can't take it anymore, when you really need help. Go there, stay there, but come back and share. Come back and do your part to make this a better world. So maybe today, pick your space, make your sanctuary.